Coming up on Mountain News this morning, more candidates for governor filed their official paperwork to run, and new unemployment numbers are out for the state of Kentucky. We'll tell you where the highest rates are.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News this morning.
.632 here. I'm Dakota Makris. Good morning to you. It's Friday. I'm sorry. I'm trying not to laugh. There's just during the commercial break. Let's head over to Brandon for a look at.
Just come on over
to Brandon. Okay. All right. We're good. All right, y'all.
Let's take a look at our cameras this morning, and you see on top of Whitesburg Pine Mountain there, we're looking a little bit on the drier side this morning. No major issues on US 119. We're going to continue to see that trend as we head deeper into the daytime hours as well. But again, a little cooler today than it was this time yesterday, or not this time yesterday, because basically where it was this time yesterday. A little cooler today than yesterday overall. We got to 53 at Jackson and London, so 1 degree above what we were forecasting, but still not that today. Only 40s today for temperatures, 30s this morning. Breakfast forecast, we are going to see again possibility for some mid-30s out there, some sunshine mixed with the clouds. Already seeing a few clouds in some spots. Other spots, clear skies and the moon outshining. Dakota?
All right, Brendan, thank you. Well, today is the last day to file for the 2023 May primary election. On Thursday, the field of candidates in the race for governor grew. Kelly Craft, Agriculture Commissioner Ryan Quarles, and Somerset Mayor Alan Keck all officially filed their paperwork. The Republican field is now up to 10. 2 Democrats have filed, including Governor Andy Beshear. Any candidates have until 4 p.m. to file to be included in the primary. Well, the 2023 legislative session continues today. On Thursday, lawmakers focused on a bill that would lower the state income tax even more. House Bill 1 is now headed to the Senate. It looks to drop the income tax to 4% in 2024. It's part of state lawmakers' goal to phase out the personal income tax completely. The Republican majority is moving the bill along, while Democrats say it will lead to massive revenue losses.
And we've done the difficult thing, because if you cut taxes and continue to spend like drunken sailors, that doesn't do the trick. This General Assembly has cabin spending the way it ought to be, and we're growing our state for tomorrow.
Middle-income families like mine will get an income tax reduction of about $300. Guess how much we're going to pay in summer camp tax, which was added by the legislature this year in an attempt to offset these tax cuts for the rich. $300.
We are learning new information about Kentucky unemployment rates. From November 2021 to November 2022, unemployment rates jumped in 84 counties but fell in 20 counties. Magoffin County recorded the state's highest unemployment rate at 9.2%. 9 of the 10 counties with the highest rates are in eastern Kentucky. According to Kentucky Education and Labor Cabinet, employment statistics undergo sharp fluctuations due to seasonal events such as weather, harvests, and holidays. Well, it's been 2 decades since one newspaper declared eastern Kentucky the painkiller capital of the world. In that time, the Commonwealth has seen drugs devastate lives and decimate communities. But there is hope. Just last week, we reported how early overdose numbers for 2022 show a promising dip as advocates try to get back on track with pre-pandemic declines. Garrett Weimer tells us how a strong recovery ecosystem in the region is helping to bridge the great health divide.
I almost drank myself to death.
Back when Tim Robinson was in the depths of his addiction.
I was a prosecutor, but I was also a raging alcoholic.
It was a lot harder then to find help.
There was not a lot of resources in Kentucky, and not a lot of resources in eastern Kentucky.
That's one reason he founded Addiction Recovery Care, seeing improvements and helping spark them himself over the years as agencies around the region have mobilized to address the public health crisis.
We went from really a treatment desert in 2008, and because of efforts like ours, Recovery Kentucky and other organizations, the Healing Place in Louisville, VOA in Louisville, Manchester, a lot of organizations, we've really increased access to treatment and leading the way in terms of having resources for our neighbors.
The Recovery Ecosystem Index reflects that. It's a mapping tool developed by NORC at the University of Chicago, East Tennessee State University, and the Fletcher Group. It measures the factors in a community that support people in recovery.
I think there's a lot of room for other areas to learn from Eastern Kentucky and to see sort of how they were able to make progress and the things that now in this post-COVID world, as we're trying to sort of regain the ground that we lost during COVID, what are some of the successful things that happened in Eastern Kentucky?
Researchers found in a pre-pandemic study that overdose mortality was steeply declining in Eastern Kentucky as strong recovery ecosystems were fostered around the region. Now, 32 of 54 Appalachian Kentucky counties, well over half, have the 2 strongest recovery ecosystem index scores.
As drug overdoses and issues around substance use and opioid use disorder continue to be such a critical issue across the country, this is really the step that we need to do as people are coming out of treatment and coming into recovery and building those supports for them.
But gaps remain. While substance use disorder treatment scores are strong in Eastern Kentucky, scores for infrastructure and social factors remain distressingly weak. And post-pandemic overdose statistics show the need for more services is still great.
This is our way of saying we can help with that.
University of the Cumberlands hopes it can meet some of that need. Administrators are now offering a new online degree program for a Master of Science in Addiction Studies. The goal is to create more addictions counselors, especially for Kentucky and our Appalachian neighbors.
We all know the stories of the way that addiction impacts lives and families and communities, and we're really proud to be able to put people out into the communities to provide answers to some of those needs.
A Kentucky state law passed in 2021 made changes to allow for credentialing of licensed alcohol and drug counselors with a 30-credit-hour master's program. Experts expect the need to be long-term.
I wish there wasn't a demand for addiction treatment. And so it's hard to get excited that you've grown, because that means there's people suffering.
ARC is now hiring. They're looking for dozens of counselors, peer support specialists, medical staff, and other workers as they expand their footprint across the Commonwealth.
The folks in addiction they're our spouses, they're our parents, they're our siblings, they're our neighbors, they're the folks that we grew up with, and they deserve an opportunity to get better because they can.
Advocates know it's an important mission and one for which Eastern Kentucky can be a model as they work to bridge the great health divide over addiction.
That was Garrett Weimer reporting. Well, researchers who created the Recovery Ecosystem Index say they hope the tool will start a discussion at the local level about what a community should have in place to improve outcomes for people battling addiction. Well, in other news, a statement from the Kremlin revealed Russian President Vladimir Putin told Turkey's president that Moscow is open to serious dialogue regarding Ukraine, but Kyiv must accept new territorial realities. Putin also emphasized, quote, the destructive role of the West, pumping Ukraine with weapons and providing it with target destination. Putin and Turkey's president also discussed expanding ties in the energy sector, while Putin's asked to lift barriers on Russian exports as part of the July 22nd grain deal. And meanwhile, President Putin has ordered a 36-hour ceasefire in Ukraine during Orthodox Christmas. It would be the first major truce of the more than 10-month-long war that's killed tens of thousands and devastated swaths of Ukraine. Many Orthodox Christians, including those living in Russia and Ukraine, celebrate Christmas on January 6th and 7th. President Joe Biden responded to Russia's call. Here is a small portion of what he had to say.
I'm reluctant to respond to anything Putin says. I found it interesting. He was ready to bomb hospitals and nurseries and churches, and on the 25th and New Year's, and I mean, you know, I think he's trying to find some oxygen.
Well, back here at home, we want to remind you about the WYMT blood drive happening later today. The Kentucky Blood Center Blood Mobile will be parked outside the station from 3 until 7 p.m. We have the address right there on your screen. All donors will receive a KBC hoodie while supplies last.
.641 here on this Friday morning. Temperatures chilly outside. The only 40 in our entire region is Charleston, West Virginia, and they're only at 41. 30s in Lexington, Louisville, 30s across the region and potentially 20s pretty soon. Irvin's at 30 right now, 39 in Harlan on the other end of the scale as our warm and cold spots this morning. I think we only get into the mid-40s today with our out-the-door forecast. We're going to continue to see a mix of sun and clouds. You'll see probably more of one than the other at times today, but we stay dry, and we could potentially stay dry into the first part of the weekend. Dakota?
All right, Brendan, thank you so much. 6:41 here, still to come on Mountain News this morning. Officials have issued some recommendations to help with the climbing cost of insulin. We'll have those for you.